Trump hasn't even been in office in 2 weeks, and the world is already changing at a record pace. Yet some seem to think that these changes may extend deeper than others.
Bob Iger used to sit in the first iteration of Trump's presidency on his business council. And I think he is going to go to the White House to have a meeting with him. And what company has been attacked the most by the right wing and the anti-woke people? It has been Disney. So how do you appease them? You adjust your plans going forward. Maybe you don't have as many diverse leads. Maybe you don't have the female characters coming back to be a part of your Star Wars, and you adjust it so you're going back to white male leads. I would not be surprised to see that happening. And you all can tell me that I'm putting on my tinfoil hat. I could give a f. I know business is business.
Could John Rocha be right about this, or has his TDS taken on new levels? Let's find out. The clip you just saw, an outtake of what is making the rounds on social media, does of course take matters a little bit out of context. That is easy though, when the subject is John Rocha, a pundit from the Collided and expanded John Campea circle, and of course a true believer and virtue signaler of the highest order. Case in point, here is how he reacted when activist Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy was first announced as the director of the Ray movie 1 year ago, and the fan base didn't immediately embrace the idea.
I swear to God, men, reach down into your pants, find your fucking balls and your cock, and be okay with it. We can take a woman directing a film in Star Wars and live. We're all gonna fucking survive. I swear to God, you guys want to come off like you're tough motherfuckers, and you're a bunch of wusses. That if a woman can't direct a Star Wars film, you lose your ass. Or that she says she wants to craft it from a woman's point of view. And yes, she went further and said, I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable because she wants to put shit out there for us to confront.
Yeah, that was not a great look. And now, 1 year later, here we are again. Last year, that 30-second snippet really was everything. There was no more context there. He just felt men needed to man up and accept the feminization of Star Wars. This time around though, there is a larger context, including pushback from his The Hot Mic podcast co-host Jeff Sneider, another pundit from the Collider and Campea circle, a legit scooper who often doesn't get the credit he deserves, and, lest we forget, the recipient of an epic beatdown from Uwe Boll himself. But let's stick to the topic at hand. This all begun with a discussion of the new Star Wars movie to be directed by Sean Levi, and which Ryan Gosling is attached to. According to Sneider, this movie is being fast-tracked. At one point it was supposed to have Rey, but not anymore. And after arguing why this is the right move for Gosling, the following exchange happened.
Look, it seems like it'll work out, but you know Star Wars fans are notoriously quite toxic and can be quite judgmental in situations, so we'll see where this goes.
Here I just have to chime in that no, Star Wars fans are not toxic. On the contrary, it is the creatives in Lucasfilm that are toxic, using Star Wars as a venue to spew their divisive messaging, thereby rendering the content toxic. The fanbase having a negative reaction to the toxicity that they are expected to accept, however, is not toxic. Just wanted to throw that in there. Now, on with the clip.
But I also think this means that Rey's not going to be in the movie. That's what I think. I think it's not going to, I think it's going to be something completely different now that you've Gosling being a part of this thing. Where is it going to lead? Where is it going to go? So that's my personal belief. Fred-tastic. I'm just saying I believe.
So wait a second. Okay, so my source, who has obviously been, and listen, things could have changed. I acknowledge that before I get into this.
Right.
But we're now going to say that my source, who's been scarily accurate.
Okay.
I think it's fair to say.
Sure.
You're telling me that that Sean Levy was planning to use Rey, and now that Ryan Gosling is doing it, he's not.
He might adjust the script to not have. I got to be honest with you. This is, and I've been hearing this from a couple of sources, and a couple of sources tapped into Star Wars.
It's fine.
Okay. I've been hearing that they are adjusting their plans going forward. We see,
and that may be true, right? And that may be true.
Well, considering that everything has gone to hell for Star Wars since the fighting of Gina Carano, that better be true. Case in point, Skeleton Crew is arguably better than the Acolyte, yet fewer saw it, and that would be because the fanbase is out. Lucasfilm has driven away the audience, so unless they want to make Star Wars exclusively for the few sad and lost souls who were genuine when they signed that Renew the Acolyte petition, they had better adjust their plans. Rocha, however, ignored this as the likely reason and suggested another.
Right. What I'm saying is, and let me get this out and I'll see if and people are going to get mad at me if they want, but it's clear that Trump winning this election has affected a lot of businesses, right? We see all week, they're all ending their DEI programs. They're all ending diversity initiatives. Bob Iger used to sit in the first iteration of Trump's presidency on his business council. And I think he is going to go to the White House to have a meeting with him.
Actually, as we already covered in this video, Bob Iger already went to the White House .20, the Mar-a-Lago, where he proceeded to kiss Trump's ring. You'll find the link for that video in the description, but let's continue this exchange.
And what company has been attacked the most by the right wing and the anti-woke people? It has been Disney. So how do you appease them? You adjust your plans going forward. Maybe you don't have as many diverse leads. Maybe you don't have the female characters coming back to be a part of your Star Wars, and you adjust it so you're going back to white male leads. I would not be surprised to see that happening. And you all can tell me that I'm putting on my tinfoil hat. I could give a f. I know business is business. And if Iger is thinking this is the best way to keep Donald Trump and his people off our asses, is to go this route for 4 years, we'll go this route for 4 years. So don't be surprised if Daisy Ridley doesn't come back at all to Star Wars, or John Boyega, which I had said was a shoo-in from my sources. Maybe he doesn't come back either. So I'm just saying that's a very real possibility in my mind.
Okay. Could this be real? Is Jeff Sneider going to agree with this? Or did Uwe Boll beat some sense into him?
Okay,
go ahead.
Listen, I will grant you the possibility, right?
Okay.
That things have changed.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to put it on Donald Trump. Like, there's not a chance in hell I'm like pegging any of this to Trump or the change from a Democrat to a Republican president.
Okay.
That beating did wonders, and Sneider isn't done.
Fair. That may be true. But I mean, it could also be true the other way around as well, that they don't want to risk the ire. They've seen.
I'm saying that's crazy. I'm saying that, like, there's no way Bob Iger is going to Donald Trump and being like, Donald Trump, our new overlord, let us try to appease you by making the Star Wars leads white again. Like, there's no way that that's what's happening, John. You're crazy.
Yep. You can call me crazy all you want. These are the halls of power, brother. These are billionaires. It's a whole different ballgame.
You think Donald Trump gives a who the is starring in Star Wars movies?
100%. I think he gives a about everything now.
I actually will grant John Rocha that point, though I will say that who is starring in Star Wars is probably outsourced to Elon Musk or even Baron Trump, as the Big Don himself is too busy watching UFC while eating Big Macs, and forcing RFK Jr. to have one as well. But all joking aside, as I alluded to earlier, Donald Trump doesn't have to tell Bob Iger who to cast in Star Wars, because Bob Iger already knows perfectly well that Disney's diversity drive has been a monumental failure, both for Star Wars, Marvel, and everything else. And to be clear, it hasn't failed because of any diversity in and of itself, but because the storytelling was compromised and became a distant second priority to the forced DEI drive. Rocha, suffering a bad case of TDS, doesn't quite see it that way though.
You thinking that he's not going to want to influence entertainment is hilariously off base. If you don't think he doesn't want to control the entire output of this country on all facets, you're insane. Insane. I'm telling you.
No, if anything changed,
TDS or whatever nonsense they try to do, it's not TDS.
If anything changes, because they haven't had any real direction there in ages, right? It's been all over the place in years. That's why things change. It's not because we have a new president.
Okay, so if they're all white leads for the next 4 years, you're going to say just a coincidence. Is that what you're going to say?
I mean,
all white male leads
yeah.
for the next 4 years. You're going to say that's a coincidence?
I think that would be a huge coincidence, and I just don't think that will happen.
Okay, fair point. Fair point.
Kudos to Sneider for being the voice of reason here. He even almost spoke out of turn at one point there.
Exactly. Yeah, here you go. Dat boy, to John's point, ex-Marvel head Ike Perlmutter is friends with Trump, and he was trying to take over Disney board last year.
What does this have to do with the content, though?
Diversity. He wanted to be in power to stop diversity leads and women being leads in content
and
from
he was
Disney.
Okay.
What was that? Was Perlmutter, I don't know, right? Or at the very least in the general vicinity of being right? I think that is a point of view it soon will be allowed to say out loud without fear of being cancelled. If you don't know what I'm talking about, see our 2 videos on the rise and fall of the MCU for the full details on that. Finally, and moving on from Marvel, the Hot Mic guys did make a very interesting observation about James Gunn and the DC universe as well, and if Trump winning would change anything there.
If they changed it all, I mean, like, would we accuse like James Gunn of changing the DC because of Trump? Like, no, because it's not Disney and he didn't attack Warner Brothers as much. Like, what?
It's already in motion. What Gunn is doing, it's a different situation. Like,
Star Wars is in motion. The photo's been going viral, right? That photo from inside the presentation with the whole lineup. The lineup's like been crumpled up and thrown into the trash. What do you mean?
Oh, you mean the James Gunn lineup? Is that what you mean?
So what I'm getting at is that he's been changing. It's been fluid.
That's interesting. Here's to hoping that Tom King, Batman writer and former CEI agent, is out of the DC Films offices then. Just wanted to leave you with that. For more news from these guys, check out the Hot Mic podcast over on John Rocha's channel on YouTube. This whole episode we clipped from today is linked to in the description. With that, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments.